My name is Gatigwa Kimana. I am the Director of Finance and Administration at icipe. Over these years, the center has developed a whole range of policies and procedures which have been tested, updated, reviewed, and this is a continuous process because the environment under which we work is local, international also, and we have to keep abreast with all these developments. So we are constantly upgrading our policies and processes. I think we are there, if I were to say so. I wouldn't say we don't have what we need, but as I said, it's a constantly evolving area, and tomorrow there might be something that happens, and you have to go back to the drawing board and look at your policies and make sure that they're up to date. There is what we call the brand equity. How do you, as an institution, and many of these institutions you mentioned are not dissimilar to us. They rely on receiving funds from various other institutions, and then they spend the funds, and then they account back to the organizations. And the only thing that really links them and ensures that the disbursing organization is happy to release the funds is the fact that there is that assurance that there will be proper accountability and the funds will be spent for the purpose for which they are meant. And as a result, it's very important that each of these organizations protects that position. And of course, when you have a successful organization which has been able to do this over many years, then there are lessons which can be learned from there. And these are lessons which our partners, our collaborators constantly learning and picking from us. And we too do pick from others because we do not have a monopoly over these areas. So it is an ecosystem where best practice eventually is supposed to flow from one place to the other. And in that sense, then you uplift the whole sector's standards, and hopefully that attracts more resources, and you continue with the cycle. In the case of BioInnovate program, is actually a very interesting program because the whole idea is get the innovation, put it out there with a very hopefully good organization, create the products, in the process create the wealth. I mean, no country will develop without technology. All developments we've seen over the many years have come from technology. And so we must learn how to master technologies. But for us to do so, we must have the right systems. Yeah? I keep saying, you can be a wonderful footballer here, but you never optimize your wealth. The same person moves to another environment, and suddenly they extract a lot of wealth. Why? Because of the systems and processes which are behind that person. So those systems are important. They are not things we should just wish away, because they create predictability, they create trust. And these are very critical elements in the creation of wealth in every society. As icipe, we have a large number of partners, and some of these are the ones within the BioInnovate Africa program. And our engagement with them cuts across a wide spectrum of activities. Specifically, BioInnovate, we are concerned with working with mainly what we might call the national research systems, the universities, research centers, to try and make sure that the innovations that are happening there are moving down to the market. And that involves the flow of funds from icipe to these organizations. And in the process of doing that, we engage with the organizations in a very significant way. One way, of course, is money, which flows from us to them. And of course, before the money, we have go through a whole process where we carry out a full assessment of the institution to make sure that various capacities which will be necessary to administer and manage the funds are in place. If, of course, we don't find such capacities in place, or where the capacities sometimes do not meet the threshold, then we have programs where we develop various processes to make sure that we can still work with the partners, but alongside as the innovation aspects are being developed, we are also making sure that they are developing their finances, their procurement, their administrative systems to make sure that they can manage the grants. So we would engage with them depending on the level of assessment gap that is identified to make sure that the gap is closed. So that engagement can be minimal, or it can be very intensive, or if, as most of them do meet the requirements, then we really engage only at a broad policy level, where we exchange various policies to make sure that all of us are meeting the highest standards. Somehow there is a correlation between poor custody of resources and the development levels of countries. Unfortunately, where you find countries are very lackluster about how they manage their resources, you also find underdevelopment. Unfortunately, Africa seems to have a lot of these type of countries. And maybe it's a question of not understanding the linkage between the systems and the fact that they do actually generate the wealth. Maybe it's a culture which needs to be tinkered with to bring this in line with this reality. I really don't know. I'm not an expert in that area. But all I know is that there is a correlation. You find it even at individual level. You know, if you are not able to be a good custodian of your resources, you're not doing a nice plan, working with a plan, you know, spending within your means, you know, then the same thing happens. Same with institutions. You know, we have to sit down, budget, spend within our means, spend where we meant. If we sign contracts with whoever we do, we honor them, we follow them, we make sure that we are doing the right thing. These are things which are very critical, and as I said earlier, they build the non-tangible assets, which eventually is like a support system for developing the wealth you need. You can have all the technologies, etc., but without that nurturing which comes with good systems, then it's very hard to make the transition that we are looking for to move to other levels. And we do hope that through the Buy Innovate program that we are influencing this by making sure that whatever is being done at the right standards, the right systems, and hopefully if people see that there is a little jewel somewhere which seems to be working, that there can be replication, and with that slowly have some little influence to get the development that we so desperately need.